In creating a scenario-based word problem for your gas law, the first thing you want to think about in the helpful guide is what gas law you are doing. So for my example, I've decided to do boils. So once you know your gas law, you need to think about what variable is involved. So for Boyle's law, we have pressure and volume with temperature held constant. Once you have the variables, then you want to think about, okay, what is the relationship? So for Boyle's, when P goes up, V goes down. This is an inverse relationship. And vice versa, when P goes down, V goes up. So once you have your variables, once you have your relationship, you want to create a scenario where this context can come to play. So I've decided to do an example on opening a canned Coke after it's been shaken, after it's been shook, and looking at how that affects the volume. Also, you want to remember to keep your units consistent and appropriate. So for example, if I want my units for pressure to be PSI, then I need both of my units to be PSI. And if I want my units for volume to be milliliters, then I want to make sure both volumes are in milliliters. So, looking at this, I have my example that I've created. It says a 355 milliliter unopened can of Diet Dr. Pepper, because that's the best drink, has an initial pressure of 55 psi. Jose took the can and shook the can and passed it to Sally. Sally opened the can and released the pressure to 48 psi. What is the final volume of Diet Dr. Pepper? So notice here that I only have one unknown that I'm solving for. That's really important. Everything else is given. So what you want to do is make sure that you have all that you have. So for Boyle's, again, I know it's pressure and volume. So as I'm reading this, I see, okay, I've got V1. It's 355 milliliters. I have an initial pressure of 55 psi, so that's P1. Sally opened the can and released the pressure to 48, so I have a change in pressure, so this is P2, and it's 48 psi, and here's where I'm making sure that my units are the same and they're consistent. What is the final volume of the Diet Dr. Pepper? So this is V2, and this is my unknown. And so it's going to be in milliliters because my first one is in milliliters. So the final step in your helpful guide is to check that your calculations confirms your relationship. So if I were to quickly solve this, my formula is P1 times V1 equals P2 times V2. So when I plug this in, P1 was 55, and I'm just going to leave out the units in the calculations to make things a little bit easier. Times V1, which is 355, equals P2 is 48 times, well, I don't know that one. I'm looking for that, so we'll leave that as V. So in solving this, if I simplify the left side, 55 times 355 is 19,525 equals 48V. When I divide by 48 to get V by itself, we get a total of V2 equals 406. My unit, because my first volume was milliliters, my final unit will be milliliters. So this is my answer to my unknown. So then we're going to check to see if this justifies the relationship. So at the beginning we said it's an inverse relationship. So if I look at the beginning, I can see that I went from P1 to P2, 55 to 48. So that means that pressure here decreased, it went down. So according to Boyle's law, V should go up, it should increase. So let's look to see. I started out with 355 and I ended at 406. So in fact, volume did go up. So I can confirm that calculation to support the relationship. I hope this video tutorial has been helpful to you, and I can't wait to see your PowerPoint report.